Today we're going to write a short story about a sport that interests us. First thing we need to do is choose a sport.
Hey, you're going to want to choose a sport that you know a lot about and that interests you, and make it where it's something that you don't have to really research and that you understand.
Since I don't know much about sports at all, I'm going to choose basketball since I know it the best.
And since I have a wide knowledge of sports, I'm still going to choose softball because I know it the best.
Okay, now that we have chosen our sport, we need to create a main character for our short story. Our main character is the one that will be the main focus of our short story. We need to come up with a character that is believable, but also that really is unique. So we're going to choose details that make them that way. Sometimes it is easier to start off with a chart or a list that says the specific parts that we're going to do. And right now we're going to choose a name for our character, the gender of our character, and a disposition or key characteristic of our character. The character for my basketball short story is going to be a boy named Aaron, and he's going to be calm and competitive.
And I'm going to choose a girl named Holly, who is talented even though she's never played softball before. Okay, now we have to come up with a plot for our short story. Our plot will include a scene, the time, and the action. For my short story, my plot will be Holly at the first day of her freshman tryouts. After only 3 practices, she finds out that she's over 50% accurate hitting, has a strong arm, which is stronger than most girls, and contrary to what she believes, she makes the team.
My plot is going to be, with only a few seconds left on the clock at the end of their game, that Aaron must make a decision to take the shot or to pass it on to a teammate that is closer to the goal. It never fails that the introduction to a work is the hardest thing for a writer to make. It must be a clincher, something that will keep the readers going on and devouring our short stories until they finish them. Sometimes you think, well, I can't just create something out of nothing, but really it's not that hard. So we're going to come up with 3 different introductions that we could choose from so that we could start our stories. The reason we're going to choose 3 is that way we can pick the one that we like best, and then we can use our tone in our introduction sentence to carry on through the rest of our short story. Okay. For my introductions, my first one, I think I will say, there are only 10 seconds left on the clock and Aaron had the ball. It's very short and very simple, but I don't really like it. So my second one, I think I'm going to take a slightly different approach, and I'm going to distance myself from it. Everybody's eyes were on the ball as it landed in the hands of the most enthusiastic of the players. That one's okay for what I want my story to be, but I still want to make another one to see if I can create one that I like better. And my third one is going to be, Aaron could feel the sweat on his brow and the warmth of all the other players as they crowded around him, his teammates protecting him and the other team trying to pry the ball from his tight, steady grip. Since I like the tone and the descriptions in my third introduction sentence, I think I will choose it to start my short story.
And my first introduction sentence is, Holly had only 3 practices in her life before her softball tryouts. That's short, but it's not very interesting to grab the reader's interest. My second one is, the morning of tryouts, Holly was so nervous that she almost pretended to be sick so she would not have to go to school. That one gives a little bit more detail toward how Holly feels about the tryouts, but I still think I prefer my third option better, which is, Holly had never expected this to happen to her. This grabs the reader's interest, and because you don't know what happens to her, the reader would want to read more into the story.
Now comes the fun part. We get to write our short stories. We're going to take our introduction and write it down on a separate sheet of paper. We will keep our chart handy in case we need a reference back to it. We'll write our story with the end of the plot in mind, and then we're going to dive into it. Don't think anything about what you need to say, just write. That way your creative juices are flowing. The length of a short story is from a paragraph to a few pages. Don't worry about the length, just write until you've completed your short story. It's okay if you're not sure how long it's going to be, you just continue writing. Writing is a creative process and it's not always easy. But if you're afraid, just dive in. It'll be okay. Just let your introduction lead the way. Okay, now let's write.